Okay, so thanks for joining us this afternoon on this LCD webinar talking about our new product. I'm going to pass over immediately just to introductions. Joining us on the call today is Tony Howard, our system architect. He's a product manager of a number of different products for LCD, including the LCD IR app that we're talking about today. And I'm Neil Silver. I'm the lead developer at LCD. And I'm going to pass over to Tony, who's going to give you just a little bit of background and introduction about this product, how it came about, and what we're trying to achieve with it.
Hello, everyone. So it was, look, this product really came about because, well, we got a bit of interest in the global cache product, and also the concept of bringing more and more things to virtual control. The minute we started to think about global cache and IR control for Crestron home systems, we realized that we really wanted to make that whole concept of bringing IR devices into your system a little bit easier than having to copy and paste JSON files and do some really clunky things. So that brought us into two brand new concepts for us. The first one of which is our brand new look and feel web app, which we're very, very proud of. And then the second one is the IR app, which is what we're demonstrating here today, both of which the devs have just done an amazing job on. The whole thing looks great. Neil's done a great job too. He's probably the lead dev, I'd say. So all of it is really, really easy to use. And it's been a fantastic thing for me to sit and test and prod and make sure it works in all the various environments. We are right now obviously demonstrating for Crestron Home. Next week, we'll be demonstrating for simple Windows, both of which all use the exact same code in the background. It's just driven for a particular environment. So Neil, why don't you show us a little bit about the running system, the product as it is?
So in Crestron Home, the challenge with infrared is that the infrared mechanism is driven by the driver system. So in the same as an RS-232 or a driver, the codes are embedded into that file, although there are some systems of making up IR and learning IR codes using the different Crestron tools. Those things are specific to Crestron devices. They don't support integration to third-party devices that give you IO options to IR. So when looking at the global cache, we had to come up with a kind of slightly different mechanism of how we could get that connected together. Obviously, global cache is a product which is kind of widely known by Crestron programmers. It's been in use for a number of years in custom programming. But when we kind of looked at it a little bit, we thought, well, even the way we use it in custom programming is a little bit difficult. It's not as easy as it might be. And having both dealt with IR integration for a number of years, it's IR integration is rarely fun when you're the one that has to make it work, and you got to find that correct code, the correct number of repetitions that you need for that code, the correct model, even locating the actual model of the screen that the client has decided that they're going to keep for that particular room can be a challenge in itself. So in terms of the global cache configurator, I'll show you this on a running Crestron Home in a second. The LCD IR app, we load this to the Crestron Home in this environment, and this just gives you a concise few screens that allow you to connect your devices. We will use exactly the same app and format to bring some updates to, for example, our global cache relay driver in time. RS-232 is a little bit of a different one. I'm going to come back to that in the Q&A at the end. But this mechanism where we discover global cache devices from the different ranges of global cache devices, and we allow them to be discovered on the system and simply added in, or to be added via an IP address if that is known, or if for some reason you're on a complex network, a multi LAN network, which discovery won't work across, then we give some options to back up as well. So that's the first stage, is connect. We need it to be flexible. We need it to cover many different screens. And here we've partnered with Global Cache and their controlled tower database. which is the first online database of infrared codes for many manufacturers. And it is a huge database. We've had to do some work in the back end to make sure that that's nice and efficient, and that we make that searchable. You can search for it's a kind of 3-step process. You search for the brand name of manufacturer of the screen you're looking for. You select a device type and then select a model. Now, the device type will generally be TV. You can select other device types, even in this driver that we've brought day one for Crestron Home. Although the interface from Crestron Home is all around display control. So the type of controls you're getting are all the controls that you would expect from a display. You then select the model that you suspect it might be. The way the Global Cache Control Tower database is set up, it often has just a very small number of models. They try and consolidate the codes into fewer model sets so that you're not searching through. So if there are many models in a range that have largely the same control set, they will consolidate those. But what we found is it's really, at that point there, you really want to do some fundamental quick tests to test that the code set that you have is correct. Once you've tested that code set, we can then move on to configuring each of the functions. Now, on a modern TV with a full function set, on any TV with a function set, we'll marry up the interface, the commands that come from the environment, in this case, Crestron Home. And we have a list of commands that Crestron Home supports. You can see them in the background there, things like keypad buttons, the color buttons, volume controls, power buttons, and different service providers, Netflix, YouTube, etc. Inputs, all of those buttons, you can then very simply, we will automatically map those when you select a code set. We will map those to the most obvious functions. So where we've got a volume control function within the codes that we get from the database, we will map those directly. And then you, the user, can alter those, edit those, and add any small customizations, macros, and delays where you have a complex function. I think if you've been around IR, you'll have had some funky solution you've needed to create where you need to press 4 or 5 buttons to get it to do just that one thing, just to get to a specific input on an older box. We still need to support those sort of things going forward, because those boxes are still the ones that we need to get right to get out of a job and to get that working. So then what we do once you've connected up your functions, made any changes that you need to, we literally link together in the back end the functions on the Crestron Home system. You can see some of the display functions on the left-hand side here. We simply link those through to the functions that you've set up on our LCD IR app. The LCD IR app is sort of finished with there at that point. What we do provide is a method of you taking a backup of all the files so that you can recover in the event of some sort of loss of processor or some sort of corrupt data on your system. You can store that JSON file, and then you can get back to where you were after configuration very, very quickly. It also allows you to take that JSON file and take it to another job site. So if you're using a common type of display, you can take that file and quickly get up and running on other sites and on other systems as well. As Tony mentioned, the LCD IR app is used on Crestron Custom, which we'll talk about in our next webinar. It would be perfectly feasible to take a backup file from one of those Crestron Custom systems and bring it across to a Crestron Home system as well. So if you've got common devices that you are used to using and you know the little quirks you need to put into them, or just that you know that code set was good on that date and you don't want to deviate from that, then we can do that. So I'm going to just jump across to just showing you some live one second.
This is it's a testament to this product that essentially what Neil's probably about to do, provided he can get to the Crestron Home Setup app, is really very, very easy to install and set up. Having the ability to do what Neil's about to do in a sense of actually just simply installing the driver and then accessing our web app is very, very quick, isn't it, Neil? It's quite good. I'm quite happy with the result of this after all the work that had to go into it.
So still at the moment in the Crestron Home Setup app, one of the real kind of first hurdles where people get into our drivers and go, where do I find it? It's very it's not as easy as it might be. Unfortunately, that's still not changed on the Crestron Home Setup app. So we've tried very much in all our documentation and all of our little bits. We've tried to give a cue to that. We're within the display category because this first IR app for Crestron Home is a display type. That just defines that it gets all of the functions to do with displays. We've then gone into the manufacturer of LCD IR app. Obviously, this LCD IR app supports over 1,000 manufacturers. So it didn't make sense for us either to put it in a global cache box or to put it inside one of those manufacturers. So you'll find it under the LCD IR app. And you will only see one at the moment. This is a development box which had some early pre-release. But this global cache display, brackets LCD, is available now on the Crestron drivers.crestron.io and hence available directly on your LCD setup app. I've got some installed already on this system, but unlicensed. But I'm just adding a display to this room, which is master bedroom. And you get a prompt immediately during the setup with a couple of different bits. We've got a link to the LCD IR app. We've got a link to our website, which is just to enable you to go and find a license key for the product. We've got our software agreement, and we've got opt-out of our cloud logging. We have from this driver and going forward, and we're going to bring that to our legacy products. We are now we're implementing a system of cloud logging of metrics so that we can continually improve our products. If you do wish to opt out of that, that is possible at this stage. So from here, I can click on the LCD IR app page. I meant to clear my private browsing data just to show you that often you're going to get you are going to get an SSL check button at this point here. So I'm just going to refresh that, see if I can recreate that. We do have this in our documentation. So often you will see this this thing that you're probably familiar with if you work in AV, because you see it on many manufacturer boxes due to the certificate. So in this case, you're going to click to accept and proceed to the unsafe device. So what you're seeing here, this web page is all running on the Crestron Home box and is just installed with the driver itself. So we've got a couple of things here. So this is what Tony alluded to as our new web app. Those of you who have had our drivers in the past know we've had an online tool for licensing and some setup configuration in the past. We've kind of gone down a slightly different route with that due to some changes coming with Crestron Home. We are now building these per product so that you get a small, concise little application which allows you to do licensing of the product. So this will allow you simply to add a license key. Again, we've got some links in here as to where you can get license keys. This also allows you to deactivate a license in the occasion that for some reason you want to take the product off and move it to another processor. So the global cache, the LCD IR app configuration is a component within this driver, and it can be simply configured by pressing on the configure button here. As I showed in the earlier example, we first go to discover devices. It's going to go and look on the local network using a UDP discovery, and it's going to find any global cache devices that are on the network. I have a single device here, 10.97. In this occasion, it happens to be a global cache ITAC unit. We do support the Flex and the Connect systems as well as the ITAC IR unit. As I mentioned before, we can just skip all of this and just restore direct from a file that we've stored in the past, or we can select and set up from scratch this new device. We can select which port we're using for this particular display. We do support using multiple display drivers within a program, but each individual configurator would have one port selected. This is a mutually exclusive thing. So on this particular display, I'm going to say I want to use port 1, which is the default. And I can see up the top my current device and which port I'm using. I'm now going to search for whatever particular brand of screen that I am looking for. I've particularly selected Samsung because it's one of the major brands. And as you can see in the list there, there are actually two Samsungs. There's a Samsung and there's a Samsung LCD. We are dependent on an internet connection to go to the online database of infrared codes, just for that portion, just for this setup. This the Control Tower database from Global Cache is a redundant database with lots of backups in it, but we didn't want to be completely reliant on that being up all the time. You know, there may be an occasion. So we've put some code into the software, and at LCD we've written just of the main manufacturers, the main ones. We've written some offline codes, and we've stored those within the compile of the driver, which means that this driver will work even on a completely offline system. The second thing to say is that even once you have set up the system with online codes and saved them to your system, there is no internet connection subsequently required to reboot the system, start up the system, even to edit the functions. If you wanted to change some delays or some repeats, no internet connection is required for any of that additional setup. So I'm going to select the Samsung display. I'm going to select TV type. We are going to bring very soon a couple of subsequent drivers for Crestron Home for AVR and for set-top box style things. So those you may want to look at some of these other types, obviously, and that's where those will come in. You can see for this Samsung set that I have a couple of different models. Most models, frame TVs. I'm going to select the most models. We pass through some of the pertinent commissioning data from the database into this text field here, so that you can have a look, and there's some quite useful information in some of those code sets, just to give you a heads up. As you can see, I pressed the Show Test Codes button. We've still not selected a set of codes, but we want to just validate and check that these codes are working for us. So from this point, we can immediately just send codes out of the device that we've already set up. We can vary the repeat number. And one approach I know that is quite common is starting with a high repeat number, sending that code out, and just looking where the tolerances lie for the infrared. Now,
also looking for where the infrared bud might be on the front
absolutely,
of the TV.
making sure that
just making sure it's
connected
working
to the right device, to the right port on the device. Make sure it's not a DUF, what have you. So these standard things. What we've also kind of identified is that I might at this point want to leave where I've got my laptop set up on the property, and I might want to go next to the TV. So there's a little QR code function down in the bottom corner. This can be scanned onto a mobile device running on the same network, and you'll pick up exactly where you left off in the flow. So if I want to go and walk upstairs and test these codes next to a TV, or I've got to walk to the other end of the building, as long as I've got a local area network in place, then I can move away from the app and do that. So at this point, I've satisfied myself that this code set was good. Or let's just talk to the really gnarly, horrible one where nothing will work. We can't get any of the code sets from the database to work with our TV. We've got this property that they've spent a lot of money on, but they want to keep that really old TV. And we've got an old program. Maybe we're taking it over an old custom job. So at that point, we have put some functionality in. We see it as being a rare usage thing, but there are a couple of options in here that you can download a custom template, and you can upload that custom code. So in the worst case scenario, we can paste in data into that file with custom codes in there to bring in a specific function. So that's just worth mentioning as well. So from here, we're just going to save and continue. There's a little bit of a time delay here while we go and marry up all the codes from the code set with all the commands that are in Crestron Home, and we try and marry up as best we can those different system functions to IR functions of the actual set that you have. And once that's finished, we're going to be able to go through the macros, and as I say, just have a look through, see what it's assigned, get some visibility of it, and then we can test those actual codes as to where they are going to fire in Crestron Home. In the setup app, one thing to notice while I'm doing this is I still haven't actually finished the kind of installation of the driver from the setup point of view. So I do want to kind of press OK, so that I've actually got the driver in the room.
Could also probably take a moment to show them the setup side of the Crestron Home setup side, because there are some functionality in there.
Yep.
That is a little bit specific.
This is master bed. So the device I've just added is this video device here, and you can see that we have just Smart TV selected as default. As Tony says, in the actual installer settings, display settings in here, we've got a couple of pertinent sections that we need to go and look at. We have media services. In the media services, we've supported all of the main icon-based media services. And then we've also added in 9 generic media services that can be renamed. So to show any of these media services you may well be familiar with, you have to select these on the setup app. And then the other one is commands. So in the command side of things, you can select specific commands to be available as well. So I might just select some of those as well. I'm going to go back here. Going to refresh the page.
Just refresh the page, yeah.
Never do demos.
It's a very weird one because I've never actually had that.
We're going to own it. We're going to own it. We're going to change.
Yeah.
We're going to go to a Sony. I also have another couple of
instances open
on here as well. So we might jump to that.
One of the ones you set up earlier. I'm definitely going to have to look into this. At least I've got a recording of it to send the devs. That's my main bit. Definitely get that fixed if that's a real thing.
So here's one I prepared earlier. Oops. So we're jumping across the one I prepared earlier. As I say, we're going to own that. So after setting up my Sony TV, we have our number of functions, and we have each one that has a selected function is going to show the number of functions that are added to it, and it's going to show any that we've not managed to marry something up to. Okay. So where we've not managed to marry something up, the code set maybe doesn't have an A, B, C, D, for example. You will see that if I go into a keypad 1, I'm going to see what I'd expect. I've got a digit 1 in there. What I could do with that, though, is if I wanted to then go and add something else to that, I can have a delay. I might want to delay for 50 milliseconds, and then I might want to send something like an enter after that. So we can easily kind of build up macros. These are unlimited in terms of the number that you want. I wouldn't suggest having a huge amount, and hopefully you won't have a horror show of a kind of infrared device that needs that sort of thing.
Also, you can change that order quite quickly.
So you can change the order. You can change that order, and then you can run all commands in the macro to test it. So that it'll run those, and as those would run from the command itself. The command name is up at the top, so keypad 1 from the Crestron Home system is going to run from top to bottom all of these individual commands.
You can also test each of the individual commands if you needed to, just by pressing that little play button there. It's quite a useful little command just to.
So that's you essentially done in terms of setup app. You're then gonna as I showed in the little slide in the demo, each of the Crestron Home functions is linked inherently to each of these devices. Now, I just wanted to step back a little bit. I didn't put a license on this product when I set it up on purpose. When we go from the test page to this command list page, that is where the licensing check comes in terms of infrared functions. Functions will not pass through from the Crestron Home system to the command list functionality. So these commands at this level here will not work in an unlicensed product. So there's two things with that. We support our standard 60-minute demo. So if you just download the product from the setup app and just use it, then you will get that 60-minute demo. We do also have a 7-day demo for free of charge, which you do need a license key for, which you can pull down from the website. And obviously once you've if you've put a site license on, you will be unrestricted in terms of your usage of the commands from Crestron Home and on these command list pages here. And in addition to that, it is a site-wide license, so you can have as many of the display type IR apps on your system as you wish. So the last thing I wanted to show you in terms of the demo is just the backup download. That global cache backup will download with a timestamped file name. You can take that. It is open. It's an open JSON text file with format in there. You can take that and you can take that to another system, either a Crestron Home system or a Crestron custom system, and in time to other LCD IR app systems that will be coming to market shortly. We had one question already before we kind of kicked off.
Yep, Q&A.
Do
RS232. It's been a bit of a golden question.